In the 1920s, Chicago was home to several bizarre criminal acts that bent the natural laws of medicine. Families attempted to reanimate freshly executed crime boss corpses. Mobsters removed their own fingerprints to evade arrest. And pretty young husband murderers gave Broadway-worthy performances of amnesia when deposed. But nobody ever brought to justice the criminals responsible for the bizarre acts we'll talk about today. Cozy up, unfold your newspaper, cross your legs, and listen in while we gossip about the brief moment in history where gender-affirming surgeries were actually free for American prison inmates in one of our very rare true crime episodes, today on Homespun Haints.
Hello, Hainted Loves. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Diana.
I'm Becky.
And today we're going to talk about a little bit of true crime history.
Oh,
I know
yes.
it's not something we always do, but there was just a story that I heard in a book the other day that I just have to tell you guys.
Okay, yeah.
So I did way too much research into it for the amount of information that's out there on this itty bitty little subject. But I think you'll like it anyway.
Okay, so true crime is not an itty bitty little subject. So are we talking about?
No, I don't mean, I'm not doing an episode about the history of true crime. I'm doing an episode about one specific true crime.
Okay, all right. An itty bitty crime.
Itty bitty.
I'm sure the person that was a victim of the crime didn't think it was itty bitty, though.
It's a small crime. It's just a small
crime.
Crime.
Was it petty?
You'll see. But
okay.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, all right, so nobody died.
No, not that I know of. This has not resulted in any deaths that I am aware of. However...
so no ghosts.
Historical information is kind of scant on this topic, so you'll see.
I guess this was a very, very long time ago, right?
That was about 100 years ago, actually.
Okay.
And the reason I'm talking about this to you, Becky, is because you are taking your family to Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we leave Saturday.
Have the kids been to Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured, because you used to live there, and the in-laws.
Oh, but I'm going to Bachelor's Grove this time.
With the fam?
No, I'm dropping them off at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Of course you are. Oh, man.
Oh, they're too sensitive. I don't want them picking anything up.
I have been to Chicago, but only like 2 times, really, and went to house parties, so I didn't go out on the town. And I lived out in friggin' Woodstock.
You were not, that's not even a suburb. It's like a satellite. It's practically in Wisconsin.
So I don't know. Is street crime like a problem in Chicago? Are you worried about things like pickpockets and purse snatchers and stuff like that?
No, you're more worried about assault.
Assault? Okay.
Muggings, hijackings.
A pickpocket is just like a subtle mugger, aren't they? Just
nobody bothers to be subtle. They just stick a gun in your face and say, hand over your money.
Well, the story I'm about to tell you took place about 100 years ago in Chicago.
Okay, but we're talking like mafia times.
We're talking about the heyday of crime in the area, the early 1900s.
Organized crime.
This crime that I'm about to talk about, you can decide whether or not it was organized. To me, it seems very highly organized, but not by an organization.
Okay.
100 years ago, Chicago street crime looked a little different than it does now.
A lot more machine guns.
In October of 1922, 34-year-old veteran Joseph Wozniak was drinking out on the town, having a few shots and then a few beers, and he didn't quite remember the end of the night. It was a little bit fuzzy, as we all know. We've had that night before. But he woke up in a very unfortunate area, like under a city viaduct.
Yeah, that's happened to us all.
Right. I mean, you get dumped anywhere. Your friends get tired of taking care of your drunk ass, and you wake up there the next morning with a funny taste in your mouth and very sore testicles. We've all been there.
Now I feel bad about everybody I've left on the side of the road when they were too drunk.
Right?
I have done that. Well, I didn't. I have made people's, yes. Like, I have some stories. But usually it would be like they were just so far gone, they couldn't tell me where they lived. I was like, here's a bridge. Get out.
Here's a bridge.
Or
you can find your way home from any bridge.
Yeah, I'm serious. I made some people sleep under a bridge one night. They just showed up randomly, and I was like, you can't stay here. There's a bridge. Another guy I just dropped off at a gas station in Northbrook. Still don't know if he made it home.
Were those the people from your hometown that showed up without permission?
Some of them.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
of them I met at a club and they ended up in the car.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't know how you got here. Like, one of my friends picked him up, and I was like, get out.
That's awesome. Well, that definitely didn't happen to Joseph Wozniak, because he probably didn't have a friend with a car in 1922, but
Unless he was very rich.
he did end up under a viaduct with a strange taste in his mouth and sore testicles.
Okay, so we know what happened.
Yeah, it turns out that, just as you might suspect, the foul taste in his mouth was chloroform, and he was actually experiencing only a sore testicle.
Oh.
Because Joseph Wozniak became the very first victim of the Chicago gland larceny.
Oh no, they were stealing people's balls.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at least one person, but the Wozniak
shit.
story breaking in the paper kind of...
There's a ghost behind you.
Ah! Ah! So haunted. Thank you. I'll trade you my coffin mug for your magical unicorn mug.
Hi, Amber.
Becky says hi.
Hi, Becky.
Sorry, that was awesome. Keep that in.
Okay.
Hello, Hainted Loves. I just want to say thank you for listening to our podcast and putting up with these schedule release issues. Becky and I have had some major issues come up since 2025, and we just appreciate the way you guys are sticking with us. Hainted Loves, we really appreciate all of you who are listening and watching this episode right now. We want to also give a shout out to our amazing patrons who are the exclusive sponsors of this episode, and every episode going farther, it's likely that it will only be funded by our patrons. So we can't thank our patrons enough. If you too want to join our Patreon, you can do so for as low as the cost of free, and anywhere up from there. Go to patreon.com/homespunhaints and join for free to see what kind of extra content you might be interested in, and then see if you might want to become a paid patron later. If you can't join our Patreon, we appreciate you anyway. We especially appreciate when you share our episodes with people that are just as weird as we are and would enjoy them. More than anything, we just appreciate your patience and your excitement for new episodes in the face of this challenging year. We hope you make it through 2026. Hopefully we'll see you again soon, and I hope, for the love of all that's holy, you have a spooky day.
So, yeah, they printed the story in the newspaper. Everybody made a huge big deal about it. It was actually referred to as gland larceny by the papers. That wasn't my silly pun, but don't worry, I'll make some more silly puns later on.
I bet that was the Trib. Chicago Tribune.
Yes, it
That's
was.
like something they would do.
What is that, like the slightly sluttier?
No, that's the Sun Times. The Trib is
okay,
like
okay.
the New York Times of Chicago.
I gotcha. Well, it started a little mini Me Too movement, having all the men clutching their pearls. The police report actually said that they were investigating several unusual crimes against men, with at least 2 men known to have been kidnapped and drugged and left mutilated in the street, on the streets of Chicago, in 1922, even earlier, before Wozniak was found. Residents found a man passed out unconscious in a doorway, Henry Johnson. He was taken to the hospital, and they discovered that, unfortunately, in his case, both of his testes had been surgically removed.
Is that why we call a penis a Johnson?
Yes, it's for Henry Johnson. We didn't have that term before 1922. Did you know?
You're serious?
No,
Okay.
I'm just making that up. But, yeah, nobody hurt his penis, just so you know.
But that's all that was left. Johnson only had a Johnson.
There's no weenie whacking in this story. Don't worry. It's all about testes.
They're still very important.
Are they important? The interesting thing about Johnson's case was that his testicles had been removed extremely carefully from his scrotum, which had then been very carefully sanitized, cleaned, and sutured shut in a job that only an actual surgeon could have performed, according to the authorities. Johnson didn't come forward at first. He was embarrassed. He didn't want to talk to the police. He did go to the hospital. That wasn't his choice, but he went home as soon as he could walk, which might have been a few days. But
Yeah.
he really didn't want to come forward until he read about the gland bandits in the paper. There were actually 2 more cases in the next year or so. In 23, there was a taxi driver named Charles Ream. He got chloroformed. He was taken to a deserted area, just another victim of the gonad goons. John Powell, then, of North Chicago, he had an attempted loin looting. They knocked him out and left him in the street, but they must have gotten interrupted because he still had all his balls. He was just partially mutilated.
Poor guy.
Most of the time, these guys would report just one testicle missing. Like, they still had function, but just not the functions of both. You probably know a lot more about organized crime in Chicago, having lived there, and not in the 1920s, unfortunately, but this story actually kind of has a weird interweaving with the bigger Chicago crime picture. Do you know about the Bobby Franks murder, 1924?
Let's tell everybody.
These 2 teenagers decided that they were going to kidnap one of their cousins, who was 14, and then commit the perfect murder. Because they're 18 and 19, so they know exactly how to commit the perfect murder. They're very certain they're smarter than the police. And they take the guy and they experiment with all these new forms of identity hindering. So they like chiseled off some body parts and poured acid on other body parts. And then they're like, this is great. Nobody will ever identify this cousin of mine. And they left him in Wolf Lake, Indiana, in a culvert. The murderers were identified because they were
Idiots.
insanely easy to identify. They had left some of their personal property with the body because they're 18 and 19-year-old boys. And they confessed immediately. They were terrified and they got life in prison. But interestingly enough, when that case broke, the taxi driver, Ream, he came forward and said, those are the men. Those are the men that took me and tried to take my testicles. Oh, he actually did lose one. So he fingered those guys, Nathan Leopold Jr. and Richard Loeb, the ones that were convicted for the murder of their cousin, Bobby Franks. But
What was that?
ghosts? That's on your end. Is
It
it a
is?
cat?
No. Maybe it'll go away.
Well, maybe.
Continue.
We're sleeping. Stop haunting us.
We're busy.
So even though he, identified the ball baggers, they were not convicted for the testicle stealing crime. They were only convicted for the Bobby Franks murders. Just in general, they were the only people ever really accused and taken to court for this. The other jewel heists are totally unaccounted for. They're all considered unsolved yet today.
So he could still be out there, the ball thief.
He's at least 115. 120. But he's out there. He may still be suturing testes.
Yeah.
Scrotums closed with the expert hands of a 120-year-old surgeon. But Becky,
Yes.
you might be thinking, why would anybody steal a testicle? No? You're like, no, I know exactly what I'd do with a testicle if I stole one.
I mean, they're edible, right?
Cattle testicles are, what do they call them? Mountain oysters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain oysters. Yeah.
Rocky Mountain oysters, yeah.
Could you extract the sperm from them to start a sperm bank?
No, you cannot.
Okay, because the sperm are dead. So it's not for consumption. It's not for procreation. Were they dipping them in gold and selling them as like a tchotchke? What?
Like Elton John's kneecap necklace that he kept after his knee surgery.
Okay, I have no idea. Why would somebody want somebody else's balls?
Well, because there was some sick surgeon involved in this bollocks bootlegging, the Tribune, they decided to interview some doctors, some surgeons, and say, why would anybody steal balls? We don't know. And the surgeon suggested that it wasn't probably something malicious. It was most likely gathering tissue for transplantation.
Okay, so somebody lost a ball and they needed a new one?
So basically right after World War I, where you get this perfect storm. They'd just had the war. They just had the Spanish flu of 1918. And two very specific things that led to this story. One was the birth of endocrinology. So the Association for the Study of Internal Secretions, as they were then called, was formed in 1916. Just a few years later, you started getting mass print advertising. If you think about it, the photograph in print in front of thousands of people instead of a few hundred people who might pass by a billboard.
Right.
All of this is happening at the same exact time in the US. We lived through the birth of social media, Becky, and we know what happens when people suddenly spend a lot more time scrolling through photos of people who are younger, prettier, and happier than themselves. It can be a little bit of a rough turning point in society, as anybody who's lived through the birth of social media can tell you.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Media booms, they tend to stir up that longing for unattainable beauty standards.
Were they injecting amputated scrotum juice into women's cheekbones or something?
That's not exactly true, but it's not far off from the truth.
Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. Spit it out. Squirt it out. I need to know. Oh, God. I just got real shivers. This is better than a ghost story. Okay.
That's what a lot of true crime fans say.
I know. Okay, keep going.
Anyway, having also recently lived through a pandemic, we know the type of sensationalized medical claims that can come out of a pandemic, right?
Oh, yes.
They knew even less then. So, yeah, lots of interesting medical ideas spawning right around 1920, culminated in this youth-obsessed culture. They just had all these kids come back from war, disabled, amputated, disfigured, mentally unable to function, and suddenly all these people who had stayed home from the war thinking, oh, we'll be able to rebuild society with healthy laborers and reproductive nuclear families when all the boys get back from war. And then they see this generation of maimed kids and they go, how are we going to put society back together? And there's always that bourgeois, older gentleman class that says, I bet we could do it.
Yep.
That's what classes are for, right? The whole shebang manifested as a massive obsession with vigor and potency and stamina and
that all comes from your balls, boys.
Said the endocrinologists who had just invented their glandular study field just then. They were like, we know where vigor and masculinity come from. It's testes. We know this for a fact. So combination of mass photographic advertising, Hollywood, the war, the flu, and this sudden rise in the popularity of glands and the discovery of hormones. This is the first time anybody knew what a hormone was. So yeah, it does make a little bit of sense if you got that anti-aging fantasy that runs the economy nowadays, basically.
So what were they doing with the scrotum juice?
Well, first you have to kind of know the history of endocrinology, just a little bit. In the early 1900s was when this rejuvenation craze started picking up traction. There was a procedure called the Steiner procedure, which was basically a vasectomy. They thought the vasoligation or the vasectomy for men would stop the sperm from leaving the body and therefore it would stay in the body and it would...
Oh, cause more vigor?
Yes, because it couldn't get away from you. They thought, women, they have ovaries, they're trapped in the body already, but maybe we could irradiate them. And so they would just put x-rays into the ovaries of these very fortunately menopausal women who had no more eggs to destroy. And if you want to read firsthand about what the process was like, the author Gertrude Atherton actually had this procedure done in her mid-60s, said it was a miracle. She thought it was great getting her ovaries irradiated, and she wrote this book about a heroine who had had ovary rejuvenating procedure done to her. So it is a fictional book, Black Oxen, but you can kind of get the real story from somebody who's experienced it on the women's side.
Let me guess, she got ovarian cancer then?
No, I mean, if she did, it wasn't diagnosed.
Okay, so they're like, okay, well, we need this sperm to make men vigorous. They lost an arm. This way they're going to grow their arm back.
They've been, experimenting with transplantation of thyroid glands. Some women with myxedema, like severe hypothyroidism, had pieces of monkey or livestock thyroid gland implanted, and they were showing reversal in their myxedema.
Did it work?
Yeah, the thyroid gland transplants do actually work.
Oh.
Later on, it was kind of realized that they were just absorbing the thyroid hormone from the tissue from the animal into their bloodstream, and that's what was giving them the benefits. And so it probably wasn't necessarily a long-term thing because the tissue probably didn't survive inside the body. It just got absorbed. But even today, you can take little pills full of desiccated animal thyroid if you want to boost your thyroid function, because it does technically contain those hormones. It's not the unhealthiest way to do it. So they knew a little bit about gland transplants before they started messing with testes. But of course, you know, since the culture is youth obsessed and also very obsessed with starting more families, birthing more babies, and getting women back in the household where they belong, not out in the workforce where they had to go for the war. So it obviously, it was going to turn to testes eventually. So they started doing transplants with monkey testicles.
Yummy.
Yeah, in fact, at San Quentin Prison in California, you could have been the lucky recipient of this free gender-affirming surgery from one of the doctors there who did hundreds of transplants on prisoners from the death row inmates.
Wait, they took the balls from the death row inmates and put them on the other inmates?
Once they were dead.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so they executed them, and then they took their testes and put them in healthy inmates to see what would happen.
Okay. Sounds ethical.
That was kind of the first experimentation with human tissue as opposed to monkey tissue or deer, or sometimes boar.
It's all so gross.
Given that a lot of those prisoners survived, that's kind of what the news was reacting to, was knowing that this was going on as an experiment at San Quentin and realizing that it might become a problem for the general public. In fact, even before those cases, do you know how long it took lawmakers in Illinois to start talking about legislating anti-human gland trafficking legislation into the law? You guess how long it took? Remember, these are men's issues, not women's issues.
Oh, 6 weeks?
Literally negative time. They started talking about it in June of 22 before Wozniak's case came forward and got published. So lawmakers had a little inside information of some sort. They were not talking, but they started pushing anti-trafficking for human body parts and especially human glands in June of 1922, several months before this became a public issue that people were aware of. When the case broke, everybody was primed to be like, I knew this was going to happen. Oh, they're stealing the glands now. You know, like 2 or 3 cases, and all of a sudden we've got an epidemic of
Serial testicle choppers.
Yes, exactly. Nobody was ever convicted for it. There was one trial, as far as I know, but no further legal action. And no laws actually ever went into place to stop this. It just kind of stopped being a thing there after like 1922 and 23. Maybe they were finding that the human tissue was no more effective than monkey tissue at raising testosterone, that it was temporary. I'm not sure what the medical science evolved into at that point, but basically the newspapers at the time all really strongly implied that it was working class men being kidnapped and mutilated for the benefit of the older, wealthier men who wanted their testicle implanted. So it's a class division message that ignited the panic and why it hit so hard for people on the streets. I just want to say that sensationalized media focus on imaginary crime rates and pseudoscientific medical information and gender-affirming surgery is nothing new.
Yep. As the archaeologist in Pompeii said, to us, nothing is new. Everything's been done before.
I think that it's kind of cool that newspapers kind of boiled it down to a class inequality issue.
Yeah, that's also very Chicago.
Yeah, good. Oh, that explains a lot. Yeah. It's nice to acknowledge that the class issues matter more than the other issues. Yeah.
Well, do you think that so what's going on now? How would you put that in terms of classism?
Did you make a parallel between what's going on now and... Oh my.
Do tell. How does that become a class issue?
All of this. I mean, the economy runs on the identity of I'm not good enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not pretty enough, right? That's what runs the economy nowadays. We wouldn't have an economy if everybody was satisfied with who they are and how they look.
Mm-hmm. Well, we would, but it would be a much better economy. It would be a little bit more Star Trek. I don't know. It would definitely be... Did I just... Oh, sorry. You can still hear me, right?
It's a cord. Yeah, it's not that cord.
Good. Okay, good. I'll just put that back there. Boop. Okay. As somebody who used to teach this, the want and desire that advertising creates in us.
As in how to achieve it.
Well, Also, no, yes, but also I taught critical theory on how to analyze the advertising that's around us to keep it from affecting us. And yes, advertising has been based on trying to convince you that your life isn't perfect and this will make it perfect.
Yeah.
And this is why so much of this, especially with social media, it's really focused on aesthetics, right? Look at your perfectly curated Instagram. We see this fakery. Advertising was fakery, and now social media is fakery.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's supposed to be more real, and so I think it affects us more deeply. Especially affects women who see these like beautiful homes and they think their home is supposed to look like that. Or their husbands that think their wives are supposed to make their home look like that. Mm-hmm. And we have the rise of the trad wife on social media now. As you know, that's its own thing. I'm not even going to get into that because that's so layered. But even from
Please comment if you're a trad wife and you want to.
If you're a trad wife, why aren't you listening to us? Like, we'll change your mind. We'll be like, nope, girl. I don't think you want that. It's fake. It's all fake. It's not real. All advertising is curated to make you feel insecure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the basis of all of it.
Like, you can't be complete without this product.
Right, exactly. Advertising is just a subset of marketing. Mm-hmm. Marketing might be a little bit broader. Marketing might really be trying to address a pain point that you have.
Sure.
But the ads that you see, it's all about, you didn't even know you were insecure about this.
Creating a pain point.
Like the other day, I did not know that my boobs hung too low. Mm-hmm. But an ad told me that, and now I don't feel right until I get this bra.
It's like colonialization of our brains.
It really is. So yeah.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, and then don't even I would get into aesthetics, like colonialization when it comes to beauty. Like light skin is better in these advertising worlds. You want to be blonde, you want to be young. People going and getting plastic surgery to look like an Instagram filter. And who can afford this shit?
Rich people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. These beautiful curated lifestyles that we see are only available to those people that have the money to keep it up.
Right. And that's what people don't know about the trad wife influencers is most of them are married to very rich men and don't actually raise their own children and clean their own houses and do their own makeup.
Yeah. Or if they do, they're really miserable behind the scenes. One thing that kills me is, especially about the trad wife thing, the ideal that people have of this perfect 1950s home, that's made up. That's based off of the advertising of that time period. That was not realistic then. It's just like a layering of falsity on all of this.
Like we were talking about right after the First World War, they had to reimpose gender structures that had been broken during the war when women started working and weren't getting married and weren't having babies.
Yeah.
There's a huge reason for societal powers that be to push women back into the household. Isolated nuclear households was the way to do that. You put her in a pumpkin shell. Before that, you'd have grandparents and aunts helping you raise the kids and helping you clean the house. That's normal. Having to do it all yourself. That's why cocaine was so popular mid-century, because you got to do it all yourself, but you also have to be pretty and thin.
Yeah, exactly. Mother's little helper. It's completely unhealthy. And a lot of what we see of that time period isn't even real because it's just the little Norman Rockwell drawings of it. I've been on photography shoots for advertising. I have helped organize how it looks. It's a set. It's not a real place. Yeah. These aren't real mothers and fathers. They're actors. We look at headshots ahead of time. Who's pretty? That's another thing. You know, these people aren't real people. They do this for a living. They are pretty for a living.
It's their job.
It's their job.
It's their job to be pretty.
On camera.
That's what I have to keep telling myself. Nobody's paying you to be pretty. That's...
Yeah.
Nobody is paying you to look good. Look however you want.
It's so important to remember that. Even if the promise of a testicle implant will solve all of your problems, it won't.
That's what this title is going to be. The promise of a testicle.
Just be happy in your own skin, but it's so hard to do. And it's even harder now because we have it coming at us from so many directions. It's really hard.
Man, can you think about like people who were subject to the very first photographs?
Yeah, I've read about them.
Marketing photographs, not just photographs, but marketing photographs. And that idea of like, holy cow, real people. are better than me. This isn't just illustrations like I've been seeing up until this point. This is real people and they're better than me. Oh no.
There's a whole theory called the myth of photographic truth. I won't get into it. But
I like that.
it's a thing. Photography really came out in the 1850s, and then in the 1860s, when it was the Civil War was the first war that we actually had documented with photographic evidence.
Yeah.
A result of all of that is people started believing that because it's a photograph, it must be real. Upcoming generations, they've grown up with AI. They know better.
Oh, let's hope
Even
so.
our generation, like we knew Photoshop. We knew better.
Did we know better when we were like 11 and 12 reading teen magazine?
No. But, now that I've edited hair off of somebody's armpits, yes.
Right.
It is a real concept, and it is how advertising has been able to get away with a lot of the damage that it's done, because innately we believe there's a photograph, it must be real. Mm-hmm. And that's why photojournalism is so strict about not allowing any kind of modification of the photo whatsoever. But even if you don't modify the photograph, how you frame it, what you cut out, how you crop it, the photographer, their bias of what they want to shoot can also change the entire story of the photograph.
Absolutely.
It's not real. I have a great book I can recommend for you guys. It's called Ways of Looking.
Ways of licking?
Ways of Looking.
Looking. Okay.
Yeah, it's a textbook I used to teach from. Sorry, I had to get on my little pedestal and talk about that because I used to teach it.
I'm glad you know about that because I don't know, please, if you've got anything to participate in this conversation, Hainted Loves, please drop it in the comments so that we can learn more about this from other perspectives. Do you think that social and class divides are the main thing that we're hearing about in the media, or do you feel like some things might be distractions? Do you think some things maybe got blown out of proportion because they're sensational and distract from the real news, like ball snatchers?
Yes.
Has this happened in your community recently?
If there's a ball snatching incident in your community, or if you've had a ball transplant, illicit ball transplant,
If you've had an illicit ball transplant,
please tell.
let us
We don't
know.
want to know about the legal ones. We want to know about the illicit ones.
Exactly. No normal ball transplants we're talking
You've
about.
gone under the knife, under the table. Yeah.
Under the table, under the belt, under the knife. Exactly. Oh.
It was fun. I'm glad I'm not a guy.
Yeah, if you've had your testes snatched, please tell us about it, because that must have been a spooky day.
Homespun Haints is hosted by Becky Kielimnik and Diana Doty, and produced by Homespun Haints Media LLC. Editing and music by Becky Kielimnik. Show notes by Diana Doty. If you have a ghost story and you'd like to be considered as a guest for this podcast, please visit our website at homespunhaints.com/submit.